from colleges and universities in particular, and then if they're looking at high school graduation rates, just far outstripping boys just in general across the board. It doesn't matter what their race or ethnicity is. So there's this kind of interesting, huge concern about, oh my God, there's a boys problem. Now, where was that when the women were, struggling before? Now it's all of a sudden, and it's much faster. But with that, it also means that then who is coming into the workplace? It's going to be majority women, right? So then, does that mean that there's going to be a change in corporate kind of culture? That's yet to be seen, because the questions that I have, and I think this is maybe more of a challenge for us to kind of have conversations about, is in terms of breaking the glass ceiling, but also the work-life balance challenges. And I hear this frequently when I'm out there doing training and working with the folks in the communities and in the corporations. What are we as women doing to change the corporate culture? Placido talked about this kind of expectation that corporations say, we expect collaboration, but she got dinged because she was too collaborative. And so she pushed back, and I said, more power to her, because she pushed back and said, wait a minute, this is wrong. You're saying this, but now you're dinging me for this. This is wrong. So what are we as women saying? Hey, we value diversity, we value women. And who's to say that a woman could not take some time off to raise her children or to be able to take care of her parents? And when I say time off, I'm not talking about a year. I'm talking about several years, and come back and restart their career, because we're living much more longer lives. Who's to say that someone has to stop at 60? There are people who are working into their 70s and 80s. So there's still a fairly long runway if a woman were to take time off in her early 30s and come back into her 40s and restart her career and still be able to ascend. But I think a lot of times women get deemed for that, and so they're put into this position of either making a choice between either having kids or not having kids, or trying to do it all and not really being able to do it well at all, or feeling guilty, or maybe having to take on these other responsibilities that mean that they have to be able to either have a nanny, but how many of us are really able to have a nanny? Or rely on our families, to do that. But how long can they do that? My parents are babysitting my nephews right now, and they're 70-something years old. But they're going there because that's what my sister needs to be able to, bring in some income. So that's just something that I want to be able to challenge. What kind of conversations are we having about changing that culture in our companies to allow for that to happen? And then, are we being bound by tradition because that's just the way we've always done it? Has anybody questioned why does it have to be that way? Why can't we change that? Especially if women are moving into these places. Are we saying, well, I did that, so now everybody else has to do it? Why do we have to stay the same old, same old? And I think that's the kind of conversations we should be challenging ourselves, we should be challenging our executive women, and we should be looking at, as we move up, also being able to question that and to put into place policies that allow for that kind of flexibility so that both men and women can have that flexibility to live the kind of life that they want, to raise their kids, to serve their families, because I think, in many cases, we're in a place where we're taking care of elderly parents and also kids that are right at that age where you can't just say, okay, you're not ready to go off on your own yet. So anyways, that's just kind of my thoughts on this.
And if I can add too, I think you bring up an excellent point when it comes to work-life balance. I think many of us are beginning to see the tide changing, where you talk about work-life balance, people don't think of it just as a women's issue. Commutes are longer. I remember when we first moved out to the Inland Empire, for those of you who are local, it was like a day trip to drive. On the weekend, our family would come visit us, pack water and this sort of thing. So it was, for a 45-minute or hour drive. Now, right, if you can get there in an hour in LA, you're doing good. So the world has changed. And so work-life balance means more than just parental leave, right? A pregnancy leave. It means commute time. It means telecommuting. Generationally, there are differences in expectations of millennial men, many of you in here. So I think what's going to have change it is really what Linda is saying in terms of pushing back, but it's everyone. It's organizations realizing that this is not just a trend. This is not needed just for a small population or a segment of the population, but that this is good business practice. But I do think, we need to look organizationally, but we also always need to look internally, because that we can completely change and influence much more immediately. And I just give you an example. You know, since we talked about a mentor program, we had implemented a mentor program, a company I worked at, and a formal program for pairing. And I remember this one woman, she specifically picked this gentleman in a business unit that she was interested in learning more about. And I didn't run the program. I came in from a diversity standpoint and was able to do some roundtables and whatnot. And at any rate, I'd asked how things were going, and she shared with me that she had identified this gentleman, but they had not really built a relationship. I tried to peel back and see what really happened there. And her issues were really around work-life balance. And she assumed that he would think that was trivial and that he wouldn't care because he was a single man. I remember as I had further conversations with her, kind of following them and provided some coaching, it was unfortunate because it was a missed opportunity, because it turned out that he was struggling with work-life balance too. You know, now for different reasons, it might not have been trying to run to pick up the kids from school, but it's commute, it's long hours, it's the fact that I want to volunteer, I want to do other things. So I give that example of, you know, we can talk about these programs like mentoring, but let's dive deeper. You know, what will help them be successful? What will help us be successful? And again, like what I said before, look for the similarities, because they had a great similarity there that was missed. Now, fortunately, she was able to build a relationship with them afterwards, but that time for the actual mentor program, that opportunity was lost. So there's more that we have an influence over than at times we think we do.
Daryl, you wanted to say something.
I'll be brief. Now, with respect to your base question, Louise, in terms of whether or not women are becoming more successful and more visible across the organization, and my immediate reaction is yes, they are. If you look at the Fortune's list of the top 500 companies across the nation today, while only 15 of the folk who occupy the CEO suite are women, I suspect that 15 is a much more significant number than it was 10 years ago. I further suspect that it is a much smaller number today than it will be 10 years from now. I think a lot of that, I agree with my colleagues here, but I would also submit to you that in terms of development, it becomes a pipeline issue with respect to the fact that women are becoming much more visible in professions that have historically been dominated by men, affords women greater opportunities to develop, greater access to the kinds of mentorships that they require, and the ongoing development opportunities that make them much more competitive yesterday or tomorrow than they were yesterday.
Right, thank you. Well, you know, I want to go back to a point you made about work and life balance. That's been a challenge, I think, for a lot of companies. And one of the challenges that I see is you lead by example. And again, listen to Eric said, I work until 9 p.m. every single day. As an employee, you almost feel like you have to live up to the same expectation as your manager. And so if your manager's putting in, 60 plus hours, and you're only doing 40, it's not, you feel as though you're under delivering to the corporation. So I just want to ask the panelists, what's your thoughts there? This life-work balance, and what can we do to change that instead of developing?
Started. I think the big issue is with the new people coming on board. It's the way they work. I mean, they come into the manager and he goes, "Well, you got to be here from this time." I'm like, "What do I got to do that? I can be online and I can be at midnight doing the same job, and I want to go see this baseball game." And it's kind of hard to say no. The better companies are going to figure this out, because the ability to work constantly and work remotely is going to help everybody. It's going to create innovation. It's going to create the ability to everywhere.